cut, woman.
Okay, another day, another TV.
It's a Samsung.
It's a Samsung. I see a lot of the same letters and numbers. What's the difference with this one, the QN95C?
Yeah, Jen made a funny point when the TV showed up. I said, is this the right TV? And she's like, I don't know. It's got all the same letters that all the other Samsungs have, but we have the QN95C. This is supposed to be the top 4K TV for QLEDs anyways. They have the QD OLED that we already had, the S95C, which is awesome, by the way. And then we had the QN90C, which is more of like a US version of the top TV traditionally. But this year, they kind of they didn't downgrade it. It's kind of similar but different. And so we finally got the QN95C. This is the top QLED 4K period. And we're gonna unbox this and show you guys all about this. I think unboxing it is gonna be very similar to the other unboxing that we did, but we're gonna go over all kinds of tests. We're gonna show the dimming zones, the blooming. We're gonna show the type of panel it is. Sorry, am I in your way?
No, not at all.
But you know, we're gonna let Jen handle the biz here. What do you got? Anything good?
Yep, the bag of goodies, the remote, and all that kind of good stuff. We've got part of the stand right here, and of course that install guide that we read thoroughly every single time.
Every time she just chucks it. I thought that was supposed to be a guy thing to not read directions. No?
Well,
I think it's just a stubborn person
you're showing
thing.
your cards.
All right, so that's pretty much it here. So this is a smaller TV. It's a 75. Normally we do like 85 inch, but it's still pretty awesome. I think it's gonna be great. But it doesn't have the little clips. So I guess we have to take it up over the top.
Over the top, yeah.
All right, let's do that. Yeah, I feel like the boxes that open, like I like that a lot better. Doing this makes me more nervous the TV's gonna fall.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
archaic.
I've got my foot security right here.
Yeah. Slide this out of the way.
Okay, so we've got our instructions down here on how to get the TV out and set the stand up and everything. So we're gonna have to undo these little tabs here on the front and on the sides. We put the styrofoam back on the sides to help support it, and then kind of break down the box a little bit, and then we'll be able to get to adding the stand on.
Get this one in here. Sure. Take the stand. Boom. You got it? Okay. All right, so this is the part where Jen puts the stand together. I sit here in my shoes and everyone comments that we shouldn't wear our shoes in the house. So here we are. Make sure you comment below. But
We're doing construction.
Yeah, I guess we wear shoes in the house because, like, traditionally when I install TVs, I'm not trying to drop things on my feet, nor am I trying to slip in someone's house. You put those little booties on, you're gonna slip all over the place. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah,
We don't
safety
wear,
first.
yeah, and we don't like wear shoes in our house like all the time. It's just for these videos, so
My dad does.
fair enough.
Oh, here
Wait,
we
is there
go.
another piece?
We gotta dig in the crack.
Pop that piece off. It's not coming out that way, silly.
Oh,
There you go.
I thought that seemed
Just
a
pull
little.
muscles, just rip it apart.
I don't want to break it.
There you go.
I was gonna pull that whole thing out that little hole there. Okay.
I saw that. I'm not gonna say that that was like, you know, your inexperience doing TVs. I'm getting a dirty look about this. All right.
I know where you sleep.
Oh.
It's okay. I still know how to screw.
Whoa.
Oh, this is. Oh yeah, I say that, and then I have this one where I'm shoving the little screw in the little crack.
That's every man's problem.
It's just so hard to get to. See?
Honestly, I don't think people understand how hard it is to get the, like, especially the two screws back there. Probably could have been designed differently. I don't know. Why couldn't they have like screws from under screws? But
It's everybody's
all right,
dream.
enough of the puns here. All right, let's get this on. So this is a little different. This stand is like that S95B last year, where it just kind of sits up there. It's kind of heavy, but I know you're muscular. And then push it that way, the whole thing. And then you just clip these in. So it's a lot, that's a lot easier than the other one. You have to put the 4 screws in. Obviously, not a huge difference, not a huge deal. So then we got some channels here for the HDMIs.
Nice. Are these speakers?
Yeah, it has some similarities to both the 8K and the 4K. And we'll get to that in a second. We'll go over all those as we get this up on the stand. Let's do that first.
Can't wait.
All right, you want to put this on? That does make it look a lot nicer.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's slide the TV forward a little bit. All right, let's take this plastic off.
I like it.
I don't want to drop the TV.
Yeah, me either.
And then I'm just gonna slide this stuff off here. Tip this side up, pull it right out. Easy, okay. This is a 75, it's so much lighter than an 85. Piece of cake. You ready to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cake.
Oh yeah, it's way easier. Okay, so now that we got this up here, you promised me you'd tell me more about what's going on back here. So
Oh, yeah, I will.
yeah.
So this almost looks like the 8K model, which last year, the QN95B, which is the top line again, it had this kind of similar look, but it had the One Connect box. You remember, look, we talked about that. But now, no 4K models except for that one QD OLED are gonna have the One Connect box, the S95C. So we still have the cool speakers that are like the 8K, and then we have that normal 400 millimeter pattern in the middle. That's pretty standard on these Samsungs. I did notice that there's a spot up there for a video camera. I'm not really sure, I have not looked at that. We'll have to get more into that. And then of course, on the side, no One Connect box. So what do we got there, Jen? We got a couple of USB ports at the top. I don't think that they're USB 3.0. I think they're just regular. One of them is kind of a hard drive you could connect. Then you have 4 HDMI ports. All 4 of them are 4K at 120, HDMI 2.1, so you can next gen game on all 4 of them. And then you have the eARC port, of course, that you send sound out to your soundbar or receiver. Your internet port, X-Link to connect some other, Samsung things, and then you have the antenna. I do believe that is ATSC 3.0 tuner, so you can get 4K channels from the tuner, which is pretty cool. But really, I think it's a cool look. I just think that those speakers are pretty nice. And then they do have some additional speakers on here on the side. So we actually got to listen to this at the CES Innovation Room or whatever we were at, and it was pretty awesome, especially with the new Q990C soundbar, I think it is, but it's like 11.4.2.19. I don't know, that's not a thing, but has a lot of speakers. So my point is that this TV with that entire sound system is awesome, and I'm hoping we can get that sound system soon. But let's go check out that remote.
Let's do it. I'm excited. So here we've got our remote. It's pretty standard. It's the Samsung Solar Cell remote, which means it's got this awesome little solar panel on the back. We've got the directional pad and the up and down for volume and channel and a couple of your specialty buttons here. Now it doesn't have an input button, which I know a lot of people kind of complain about, but we do have the settings button right up here. Brandon thinks the remote's a little bit too small, but I think it's just right. It fits my hand just perfectly. There is a USB charging if you don't have any sun, so let's go ahead and pull that tab and get this bad boy turned on.
All right, got it all set up. I mean, it is a pretty cool looking TV. I like that it's very thin. It does have the HDMI ports up. Has those, speakers on the back like the 8K model. So overall, pretty cool from an exterior perspective.
Yeah, to be honest, it looks pretty bright. I may have seen a little dirty screen effect. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear your opinion.
Yeah, we're gonna get into a bunch of tests, see if it's a VA panel, check the blooming, the dirty screen effect and all that. But let's first start with the operating system. Now this is an operating system we've already seen twice this year. It's early still, but I do like the operating system. It is faster. It's better than last year, which was a little bit slower, some of the complaints. Does have the Samsung TV Plus. So if you don't have cable, you still got a bunch of channels, a bunch of shows, all kinds of things to get lost into. And of course, there's all kinds of apps that you guys use on a daily basis. There are other movies and recommendations that are a combination of all of these things. So pretty cool operating system. On the side here, it does have the gaming hub where you can stream from the cloud here, or you can connect your Xbox, your PS5, whatever it may be. Gaming on these TVs are fantastic. So you have the 4K at 120 like we talked about before. You have all kinds of cool VRR and FreeSync. It does have the cool gaming hub. So when you are gaming, You can pop up and see the different things that are going on screen. If you want to make adjustments to it, pretty awesome, pretty cool. Sometimes it feel like it gets in the way a little bit, but for the most part, gaming is awesome on these TVs. So very happy about that. And the kids, said that the cloud gaming is okay. It's a little bit herky-jerky. It's a little, dependent upon your guys' speed of internet. But that's kind of the same thing when you do it off of the actual consoles. And then it does have this ambient mode. So if you don't want to just have a black rectangle, as Jen says, you can have it on different backgrounds that kind of move around. They're pretty cool. So not exactly the same as the Samsung Frame, where it has a lot of cool artwork, but this does have some neat backgrounds kind of similar to it. And then of course it has the multi-view function, which is pretty cool. Allows you to use one source and YouTube or your phone or the hub, the Samsung Plus, all these different things you can use in combination. Definitely a cool feature added back to some of these TVs. So quickly to get into the content, we've done some of this stuff already, so I just want to go through it really quickly. You can watch some of the other videos if you need to, but we had to take it off eco mode so we can get full power and see what we're working with. Change it to standard for this SDR content. However, the standard mode had, the dimming on standard, it had the contrast enhance on high, so we removed that, so there is no contrast enhance in order to get a more accurate picture. And then warmed up the tone a little bit because it was on standard. It's a little bit too blue for my liking. I like it on warm too. And then adjust the clarity a bit because the motion settings kind of can make you a little nauseous if you have it all the way on high on these. It looks a little too soap opera-like. So I like them a little lower, and it gives me what I'd expect out of the picture quality for SDR and watching cable news, sports, and all that. So it does look a little bit more balanced in this manner. It doesn't look so overly saturated. I think the picture looks good in general, and I do think it looks better than the QN90C when I had it out of the box and when I did these same settings. It looks even. I think this is a VA panel, and I think it has twice the dimming zones, which we're going to find out in a second. But I just think it looks like a better quality TV in general. Now, I would say one thing, which is people have commented that Samsung TVs in general don't have the best resolution, or they don't look so great when they're, it's upscaled content. And I have to say, to a degree, that may be true, that when you watch things that aren't perfect quality, they're not 4K quality, specifically sports, it doesn't look quite as sharp when you have football or you have soccer and little guys are running around in the field. It breaks up a little bit more than maybe an OLED TV, even their own OLED TV. But overall, it does depend on how good the content is coming in. And I think this looks pretty good, and I watch a lot of this YouTube TV stuff. Overall, I feel like this looks like what I would expect a top Samsung QLED would look for sports and cable. So minimal complaints here. So then moving on to HDR footage, you have some of the same settings. We got to go in and make sure that it's in a mode that looks somewhat normal. I like to have the HDR in movie mode with the dimming on high. The contrast enhance, we normally set to off. You can crank it up if you want it to be brighter and bolder. And then you have the tone mapping options, which you can either have set it static, which is supposed to be more accurate, or you can have it to active, which is what I prefer because that's kind of the typical Samsung look that I'm used to. And to be honest, if that tone mapping isn't on active, I feel like it's kind of underwhelming on these TVs, including this one. When we're watching something bright and crazy like this movie Luca, everything looks fine, nice and bright, looks better than the QN90C did for sure. And even when I get into something darker like the Star Wars movies, I still think it has nice highlights. The areas that are supposed to be black are very black, great contrast. And I didn't notice any blooming right off the bat, whereas some of these other QLED TVs, you start to see things that you don't want to see, and that makes you want to get into testing. But overall, I think the HDR performance looks good. I prefer it with that active tone mapping. But yeah, we need to get into some of those tests because I do think there's a lot of differences between this and the QN90C, the one step below, and we just got to figure some of these things out. So let's get into those tests, and let's start with the reflection handling. I noticed right off the bat that this does have more of that, not a rainbow effect, but it spreads the light across the screen, whereas the QN90C, what we've reviewed this year, did not have that. And so I think that it's definitely better at handling reflections, and it's not as aggressive of a rainbow across the screen as it had been in years past. So they've made some changes to this anti-reflective coating, but it does have some of it. So if you have certain lights in your room that you don't want to be reflected harshly or multiple times across the screen, that may be something you're concerned about. Or maybe you're in a bright room where this does seem to handle the reflections better, and this TV will be better for you because it is so bright and it does handle those reflections well. And so now that's got me thinking, if this does have that extra layer that knocks down reflections well, is this that other type of panel, the VA panel that Samsung traditionally uses? Because the QN90C also had that ADS type panel. So let's grab the jeweler's loupe and see what the pixel structure looks like. So we can see here that this is definitely a VA panel. The structure of the pixels is a lot different than that IPS panel. You have like 6 different parts per pixel, whereas that other one was just kind of split in half, and they're oriented in a little different manner. So on the plus side, that's great for the contrast. It's a VA panel. It does have more dimming zones. This does show that there's 60 by 32 dimming zones, which gives you a total of 1920 for a 75-inch, and the dimming zones on an 85-inch QN90C was only 1210. So, like they said, it's about twice as many dimming zones. So that does bode well for this QN95C to be better with more dimming zones and the VA panel. But there are a couple things with that. And so when we move into the blooming test, I imagine it's going to be better. But when we go into the dirty screen effect test or uniformity, sometimes that is worse. So let's go to those 2 tests right now. So first, the dirty screen test. And I have to say, it doesn't look great. Now, these VA panels traditionally have more dirty screen effect issues, or the uniformity is not as good as the IPS type. And this is in line with that. I don't know if it's the panel itself or that anti-reflective coating, but either way, there's more blotchy areas on the screen. And disregard some of those horizontal lines that are moving up and down. The refresh rate causes that of the camera, but it definitely does not look as good as the QN90C did with regards to this test. But there's some differences. This has more dimming zones. This VA panel supposed to be a little bit better contrast. But then this dirty screen effect test is something that I can't unsee once I see it. And if you're watching bright sports, hockey or whatever, going back and forth, left and right, you'll notice that. But this can vary from panel to panel. So it's not 100% that yours is going to look just like this, but not a great result so far. On the positive side though, this is a mini LED TV and it does have a ton of dimming zones in the 3rd generation. So I'm definitely seeing less blooming when we're watching Star Wars movies than we had on the QN90C. There's something about the ADS or the IPS type panel with mini LED, with the dimming zones. For some reason, it doesn't work out as good as these VA panels with the mini LED. So I definitely think this is much better with handling that blooming. And even in some of these scenes where we're, really stressing out the TV, it handles a lot of the small areas of light with, surrounding black areas much better than most QLED TVs or LCD-based TVs. It almost looks very OLED-like. Occasionally you see a little bit of blooming here or there, but these are extreme tests, and most TVs cannot stand up to something that's this difficult when it has that full array local dimming and all these different dimming zones. So overall, it's one of the best results I've ever seen on a mini LED type TV handling all these different scenes. So that's all the tests that I can think of. I mean, we got great results watching different kind of content. The reflection handling looks pretty great. I think that's because it's a VA panel with that different structure, not the IPS type. Unfortunately, the dirty screen didn't look quite as good, but the fact that it has twice the dimming zones is a huge benefit. So that's pretty much all you need to know about the QN95C for now anyways. Right, Jen?
Dimming zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't catch any of that, but I'm sure it was great information. And if you have any questions that you'd like answered on this TV, go ahead and leave a comment below and we'll answer them in our review of this TV. And if you're trying to determine what's going to be the best TV for you in your home, then go ahead and take our quiz. It'll tell you exactly what kind of TV you should get based on room conditions, your viewing distance, and what kind of content you like to watch. It's really helpful. So go ahead and check the description below for the link, or you can go to betheinstaller.com/quiz. But if you want to see some more of our recent TV reviews, you can check out right here. It's the Samsung
QD OLED, the S95C.
And then right here, we've got the LG
C3, the new OLED from LG. Awesome videos. Check them out. We'll see you guys on the next one.
See ya.